What I would advise with this Jupiter Trine Pluto thing is to um set things up like we were kind of talking about beforehand, before we get this energy forwarding and fertile, such that you can take advantage of the surprise and shock opportunities that are going to go down. So what this looks like is mostly, I think, tangible resources. Basically, feel free to get rid of something to make room for something better. Feel free to eliminate that which is actually creating baggage and not harmonizing with your immediate environment, your health, what you consider beautiful.
Hello and welcome. We are so happy to have you here with us today. We are going to be taking a sneak peek into the astrology of 2024 with one of our inner circle astrologers for next year, Clarissa Dolphin. Now, Clarissa was one of the astrologers on our big 2024 forecast panel event, where we had a live discussion with 5 top astrologers. Now, while the window to catch that replay for free is closed, you can still access it as an inner circle member for a lifetime. You can join the Inner Circle right now at a promotional price and get 45% off the original price, on top of gaining access to the forecast replay. As a member, you will also gain access to mastery classes, new and full moon forecast, attention setting ceremonies, and you will get to hang out with many of the astrologers that you see right here on the podcast. Now, to join the Inner Circle, all you need to do is go to astrologyhub.com/inner circle. Now, good news for you is today, Clarissa and I are going to talk about a transit that we did not actually get to cover during the event, and that is the Jupiter Pluto trine happening once Jupiter enters Gemini. Clarissa, it is so great to be here with you today.
Thank you, Jamie, as always. Thank you for inviting me. I'm so excited to talk to you too.
Oh my God, Clarissa, your energy, I think I've said it 100 times before. It's just so addictive. So I'm like, oh wow, Clarissa, this energy bump. I'm going to walk away so inspired and just ready to tackle life because I'm talking to Clarissa today. So yeah, thank you. Brilliant. And I talk about high energy. Like you were on the 2024 forecast event that we had recently, and that was a powerful experience. Got a lot of our audience and our community really ready for the year ahead. So thank you for being a part of that. That was magnificent.
Also a complete honor and pleasure. And yeah, 2024 is hyper reality. So I'm glad we got, our whole community got a little taste and introduction, not just from myself, but also the amazing other Astrology Hub astrologers.
Amazing. Yeah. I love those events every year. I can't even, even being on this team, I just cannot wait. And I think it's probably because it was my invitation to Astrology Hub, anyways. Like, I was really seeking something years ago, found that forecast. I was like, I've got to be a part of the inner circle. I've got to be close to these amazing astrologers and these minds. And yeah, it feels like yesterday, but it was forever ago at the same time. It's a great place to be. So definitely. So, one of the things that we did not get to in that amazing broadcast was, and I'm a big Jupiter fan. I think everybody knows that. My Sag rising comes through. But was Jupiter, the Jupiter Pluto trine happening once Jupiter enters Gemini. So that's going to be one of the big things that we're going to talk about today. But before we do, I wanted to ask you something. So before the event that we planned, we asked all of the astrologers, what transits they were really looking forward to the most. And this is the one that you mentioned when you were like sharing, okay, this is what I'm excited about. Why was this transit one that you just zeroed in on when you were prepping for 2024?
Because Jupiter Trine Pluto is compulsive expansion as an energetic force. So that's when we're gonna blow up. And this is a Jupiter year. Um, Jupiter dominant, right? Because we also have 2 months before Jupiter conjunct Uranus, and now on June 2nd of 2024, we've got this Jupiter trine Pluto. So we've got this like 2 month window and beyond of blowing the heck up. And that's so exciting, right? So there's like lucky boons and opportunities, and I think it's important to prep now. We're recording this kind of like in the fall of 2023. Perfect that if you're doing this now, or even at the beginning of 2024, because it's like, do all your business now and take advantage of these expansive energies, and the harmonics behind it are really, really cool too. So I'd love to talk to you about that if we have time.
Absolutely. And like by blow up, we mean like this is just amazing, expansive opportunities. Know what you want, and you're going to be able to just be a magnet and bring this to you with a really power. That's what we mean by blow up, not like necessarily like it's all going down. Run for the woods.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. That you define the blow up perfectly. It's not catastrophe, it's not catastrophic, it's boon.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, I love that. I mean, I just like to make sure that I always get that clarity there because, like semantics and language in the world that we live in today, like and after like coming through such a great transition collectively over the recent years, I think a lot of times that I've mentioned this in this podcast before, people are bracing for what's next instead of anticipating it. And I love how
Mm.
this Jupiter year is like, let's anticipate this. And if we're anticipating it, like you're anticipating a great trip or a great event in your life, planning a wedding, a birth, a house, something, like anticipate it like that. And then you will start to just bring all these creative forces to you. So I love that that's the boom, here we go energy. Like it's time, like you deserve it. So I love it. But yeah, let's unpack it a little bit. Like what are the harmonics behind this transit that we can bring to the table?
Well, before we unpack it, I just want to mention that we're not going to have a Jupiter trine Pluto again until September 24th, 2028. So it's like let's like with astrology and transits in general, harmonic astrology or not, it doesn't matter what kind of astrology it is. Like it's very much like this is a 4-year experience where everything you've been building over the past 4 years or whatever, it now peaks and it goes into this flow and expansive mode. So okay, now let's do the harmonics. Or unless you want to say something, Jamie.
I was just like, I have the number 4 in my head, and I'm sure our numerologist and all the people like thinking about 4 and change and activation are going to be in the comments. So I look forward to seeing all of you there talking about just this is a 4-year. Like, what does that? Because there's always more than one layer. We can look at astrology and numerology and harmonics and all the different layers, and it's all when it starts singing together like a symphony. That's true magic, and I think that's what we're embarking on. But yeah, I'm leaning in. Tell me about the harmonics. Tell me everything about.
Yes. And to your point just now, that's what harmonics are, this like cosmic magical symphony. And actually, astrology is actually number magic. Even though we do archetypes and myths and whatever, it's like cool math. So anyway, let's talk about the harmonics. So we've got like a 23. I'm just going to list all the numbers, and we're not going to get into every single one because we don't have time for that today. But like we've got a 23rd harmonic, a 3, which is the trine aspect, 6, that's 3 times 2. We've got the quintile, which is the 5th harmonic, and the novile, which is the 9th harmonic. We've also got 143, 13 times 11, and 17th harmonic octaves. So what does this all mean? Like 9th harmonic is healing and community. 13th harmonic is singularity. 11th harmonic is insatiable futurism. And so basically what's coming up in this Jupiter Pluto situation, and 23rd harmonic is actually interesting because it's probability. So basically, what we've got going on, it's being at the right place at the right time. What I would advise with this Jupiter trine Pluto thing is to set things up like we were kind of talking about beforehand, before we get this energy forwarding and partile, such that you can take advantage of the surprise and shock opportunities that are going to go down. I'm just looking at the harmonics really quickly to give you kind of like more detailed notes. So we've got a Sun, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto in the 23rd harmonic. So what this looks like is mostly, I think, tangible resources. Basically, feel free to get rid of something to make room for something better. Feel free to eliminate that which is actually creating baggage and not harmonizing with your immediate environment, your health, what you consider beautiful. I think also we can spruce up a little bit and sharpen our minds here in this situation. Why I'm saying the mind thing is because we've got a lot of Mercury, Saturn, Mars, Uranus. So this is another thing where why we need to prep for this before is because we're going to need to have our marketing program, what we're saying, how we are educating people and vice versa sharp at this Jupiter Pluto, know what you're talking about basically. So really kind of like hone in on your expertise and watch it reach far at this time period. And finally, we've got a lot of Mercury Venus in this situation at this Jupiter trine Pluto transit. And what that speaks to is like poetic language, speaking, writing, listening, etc. So once again, this is an opportunity to great success. Issue a platform or what you're really kind of trying to say. And this is like a perfect situation after the gnarliness of the March eclipse because March and like the beginning of the year is going to be kind of funky, right? And so then from April to June, when this happens, we're finally coming into alignment and able to find the right people, find without, feeling kind of like antagonism or whatever. So, okay, let me stop talking now.
No, it's brilliant. You can talk forever. That's beautiful. And I think that it's a super powerful thing to kind of know, okay, this is coming and to get really sharp on like, your point of view. Cause I think right now, we get really diluted about, what we bring into our lives and what we're focusing on, especially when we're in a lot of turmoil personally or collectively. So I love how it's like, you know what, this is what feels right inside. Kind of have to like look in Pluto. Yeah, and find that guidepost and then like learn everything about it. Like if it feeds your soul, that's what you want to lean into and perfect. And then that way, if you're not like, I think a lot of times we want to mirror what's out there. And this sounds like this is an invitation to do with be completely original and within and one of a kind. And yeah, absolutely. Oh yeah, I'm excited about this. What can you tell? Like my Jupiter, I'm like ready to go. I'm like, what can I say? Like let's learn something. That's awesome. Okay, before we get to our next question, I'd like to take a moment to thank our sponsor for this episode, Magic of I. We are huge fans of Magic of I journals, planners, and moon calendars here at Astrology Hub and are so grateful for our continued partnership with Magic of I, where we get to pass along incredible discounts to our community here at Astrology Hub. And this is especially relevant since 2024 is right around the corner. I know I always stock up on my calendars. They're great gifts to give to everyone around me. Their 2024 astrological planner is incredibly powerful. It is a healthy book of wisdom that will really help you create magic and living in alignment with the cosmos, which is something we all want. So, all that to say, whether you are just a moon lover or a planning freak or really like to just live in rhythm with the universe, this is the perfect planner for you to have. Now, as a valued listener of Astrology Hub podcast, you are going to get an exclusive offer. All you have to do is use the code AHMAGIC to receive a special 10% discount off on the Magic of I Astrologer Planner. Now, if you're part of the inner circle, you're going to really get an extra 20% off as your membership benefits of getting this planner too. So that's even another benefit to join the inner circle. But either way, you do get a special deal on these planners of Magic of I. They make a perfect gift for any astrology lover in your life. So go ahead and go to astrologyhub.com and use your code AHMAGIC. And thank you again, Magic of I, for helping us continue to provide great free content here on this podcast every week. So what are some things we could do to like, I think you mentioned them already. You were like, kind of get really clear. What's your message? What's your platform? Is there any like challenges that you could see that would prevent somebody from doing this if they would have to work? Is there any kind of do you feel like there'll be mental blocks? And if there are, what can we do to overcome those to kind of get to that exaltation? I
Well,
feel
so
like
I think that there are going to be mental blocks potentially for a lot of people who do not possess specific types of natal energies. Like if you're a Venus Neptune type of person, or a Moon Neptune, or a Moon Venus, or a 17th harmonic person, I think this entire year might be kind of more challenging than if you are a Mars Jupiter, a Mars Uranus, a Uranus Pluto, or whatever type of Pluto person, or an 11th harmonic person. Why? Because like if you are the latter, like I'm Mars Jupiter Uranus, can you tell? I'm 11th harmonic, can you tell? Whatever. You're just used to being in action, dealing with aggression, right? Because Mars Uranus deals with like combustibility. I live out here on the streets of Los Angeles, born and raised here. People act crazy out here. You know, that's the Mars Uranus kind of thing where it's like, okay, yeah, let's get this also blah, blah, right?
yeah.
Somebody like a Venus Neptune or whatever, it's very like it's more dreamy, right? Like it's more kind of like very sensitive to things that are caustic or aggressive. So what I would advise in that situation, and there's so if you have like more sensitive placements natally and more sensitive harmonics, um, take care of yourself when you need to. Maybe do kind of more like seventh harmonic things, like be an introvert, you know, don't and clear your energy actually. Like literally Reiki, all whatever crystals, you know, even just being out laying in the ground or whatever where the earth sucks up your energy. Really kind of focus on that so that you can come out and compete, right? Because that's the whole this year there it's not a lull year. 2024 is going to be like blink and it's gone. 2024 is going to be like with this Jupiter trine Pluto, with this Jupiter conjunct Uranus and all the other stuff going on, Pluto and Aquarius, you know, whatever. You list all the list of stuff. Like this is the year where we need to get out of our head and be out. It doesn't matter what you're thinking or feeling. Just come out, just say what you got to say, right? That's why the Mars Uranus people and the Mars Pluto people, we don't have, and 11th harmonic people, we don't have filters. So it's easier for us to like do this. So does that answer your question, Jamie?
Yes, brilliantly, and it reminds me of, like, a meme or a TikTok I saw recently talking about my generation, and it's like, why you don't mess with this generation is because they're, like, the last one that actually handled confrontation face to face, like, we weren't like yeah, we had a problem, we had to walk up to you and work with it, and, like,
Mhm.
we had to, like, come to an agreement because we still were in the same space or what have you, where today it's kinda like, I can make this comment and run kinda thing, so, yeah, I do think
Mhm.
it's funny how it's like, like you're saying, just be original, come out and be clear on what you say and being very present with your dreams and ambitions. Yes, super beautiful. Thank you so much. I love your answers. So I have a couple more for you though. Now, if we were to think about 2024, what is the most common misconception that you think that people have about astrology in general that we can clear up? Like, I know that's kind of a broad question, but like, and I think it's probably more common in LA than where I live in the United States. But do you feel like there's a misconception about astrology, and how, if you do, how would you clarify it to anyone that came up with it?
Ooh, that's such a deep question. I'm gonna
No,
be
lock
honest
it.
too. Okay, I know. It's like yes, Pluto.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to be honest with you, and this is just my opinion because I don't want to kind of like ruffle feathers. Mars Uranus, like I am open to disagreement and, tolerant of other views here. I think one common misconception from about astrology is that it's all like the human being has control over everything. Like, so let me explain that because it's actually super deep, right? In that, I do believe that mentally you can kind of create whatever you want. Like, honestly, like this is happening to you. You have the power and you have the will to redefine the situation, right? And on a spiritual level and as an astrologer as well, I believe in higher cosmic forces. If we just think about mass, basic physics, right? Like I'm only like what 145 pounds or whatever kilograms, right? Like what is Neptune? What is Jupiter in terms of mass? And so then their rotation creates these insane gravitational fields that ripple all the way to, and that goes for every planet and point in our solar system. So, what I would like to introduce into this conversation in response to your question is give yourself a break. There are higher forces that are shaping the reality you're dealing with. You don't always have to be perfect to respond to the astrological forces. I think for me, and this is just personal once again, that's where I find comfort and respite in astrology because it's like these forces are greater than me. I can adapt to these forces. It doesn't all come from me. So that's what I gotta say with that.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I like that. And I think it's an interesting kind of conversation. Like I said, it could really be a whole podcast, Fate and Free Will, which I know that we do have a couple of those that Rick's covered on this podcast if you guys want to go back to the archives. But it is like, I think when I try to explain astrology to people who don't understand it, and they're like, well, why do you work with that? And I'm like, well, I'm not going to try to get I'm not going to go out in my bathing suit and try to get a suntan and when it's 30 below outside and snowing. It's all about timing and knowing this is a time of rest, this is a time of like what we're talking about with 2024. This is a time to grow. So I think that that's one of the misconceptions is that we read astrology and it's going to tell us that our life is fatalistic. Like this is happening to you. There's nothing you can do about it. And you coast through when really it's like, just like when you're planting a garden or doing anything in your life, it's a flow. It's a pattern that you tap into. But yeah, I love how you answered that. That's brilliant. So Clarissa, if you could give anybody a piece of advice, which I know you've given a lot already about 2024, what would it be? If you're like, okay, you're going into this year, remember to do this.
Good Lord. I mean, there are so many kind of levels of pieces of advice here. Um, I'm gonna do my best to answer that succinctly. I think follow authenticity. Don't think too much. Act before you think, right? Like this isn't like a thinking year. It's not a septile seventh harmonic year. It's not a Saturnine year. I mean, it's Saturnine in Aquarian form, but depending on whatever astrologer you're speaking to, Pluto in Aquarius could be more like Uranus Pluto, not Saturn, but anyway, I think that also this year, just in general, romance is huge. That's something like if you look at every major kind of like ingress or lunation, like the eclipses or like some of the aspects we were talking about today in the harmonics, Venus, Pluto, and Venus, Uranus, Venus, Neptune, all super romantic. Like I will consume you, I fall in love with you now type of energies are kind of like out here. I think that I would follow that. I think so. Basically, I think a huge piece of advice is follow the visceral, follow the niche, follow the unique. Don't try to fit in this year, right? Because that's really not going to help anything. It's not really the idea of fitting in to some collective what is normal thing that totally falls away this year. So I think one way to anchor other pieces of advice with this, because this year is apocal shifts on a collective and personal level, right? So it's like entering the 70s from the 60s and so on. Like when did the bell bottom disappear? And now we're in the 80s with like paint on our jeans or whatever. You know what I mean? Like it's that shift. So we're gonna be seeing that. Instead of thinking too much and kind of getting into your head, it's just ride the wave up in here. And part of riding the wave is accepting that visceral, because this is a hard year, I think, on the body. I don't think people are really as aware of how much footwork, like how much we're gonna be moving this year. Like it's gonna be like boom, 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 and it's gonna be crazy. Like we're gonna be talking about, we already see aliens, Bigfoot, species, having, a pig's heart and you're human and build plants in bio labs from one gene and crazy things like that. And other stuff like vortex forces, all this kind of stuff. So what we really need to do is just lean in on it, have our spiritual remedies, right? Because I'm like towards the end of the year, like with the eclipses and fall and stuff. And I wanted to that's another piece of advice. I'm so sorry I'm going all over the place here, but because of, anyway, towards the end of 2024, part of what needs to happen for every individual is, and this is your choice, but I would advise you to get your spiritual practices up. I don't care what that looks like to you, if it's going to church or burning duck blood. I don't know what that looks like. I'm probably going to be praying a lot, doing a lot of altar rituals, doing some shamanic work, Reiki, whatever, sound healing. Just do it. And finally, follow Neptune, right? Because Neptune is not a big thing this year. It's mostly got a Jupiter Pluto year, but in 2025. Neptune's going to be going into Aries, right? So we need to kind of like, as all this busyness is happening in 2024, we need to relate to our personal visions, our higher visions, our spiritual visions, while we're just leaning in and taking a chance, while we're just taking the action and jiving in.
I love that. And it really kind of like folds in together because you have to have faith. You have to have that inner strength in order to conquer what you're going for. And that faith, and wherever you find that faith, like you mentioned lots of different ways, there's even more. Like in how we define it. I know that can be a touchy subject for some, but whatever you have faith in, your higher self, your inner power, leaning in on that, it unfolds courage and authenticity. And then then your yes, and you know what to follow. And you're like, no, I can disagree with you. I can, and also I think, like the whole connective energy. And it's just so powerful, and I think it's interesting how you can still feel this online, but, like, you see, like, a movement of people kind of all standing for something and not standing with it necessarily in aggression. Sometimes the most powerful thing is, like, I'll have little tears in my eyes, and I'm not a crier, is seeing something very peaceful, like, happen, like, and because that kinda takes me back to childhood, like, like, you have to when you answer with kindness, like, it, dismantles the situation a little bit, like it adjusts it instead of it being, like, goes up and up like that. I think there's an interesting creative way that we could use this aggressive forward motion energy. And I love that. Like go lay on the ground, get in the sun. And, and also I think that one of the pieces of advice that I would add to this is to watch the wolf that you feed, because there's a lot of information out there and you could go down a road of like, oh my God, they're doing this. I can't buy food anywhere because it looks like this, or they're doing that. And fear could really take you away. Or you could say, you know what? Not interested, or I'm not going to be on this. I'm not going to feed that wolf. I'm going to feed this wolf and find something that inspires you. So yeah, definitely. And I love how you brought in a lot of great practices and tools. Is there any other, is there any other practice or tool that you'd like to call out? I think we mentioned like grounding and clear diets and stuff. Is there any one other thing that you'd like to bring up?
Um,
It encompass of it
think,
all.
yeah, like if I'm honest with you, if you're able, just anything physical exercise. Like we're gonna need to release all of this um plutonic and Martian energy, because like all of this stuff in the harmonics, it's like Sun, Mars, Uranus, Pluto. Sun,
Yeah.
Mars, Pluto, blah, blah, blah. So if we don't like release this physically, we will get aggressive with each other.
That's
We're gonna
prob
do.
Yeah. And I think you've mentioned action a lot, and it's so synchronistic. I think a podcast I was listening to prior to this was talking about how action is one of the most crucial things that you could do. It wasn't even about
Mm.
astrology, it's mindfulness. And it's like if you set the action, I'm gonna get up at 7, don't break the promise to yourself, get up at 7 and then do said task or whatever. But the action is the most important thing that you can do. Like you'll understand. It's kind of like jump in the deep end and then learn to swim. You're gonna
Yeah.
know how to do it. But yeah, definitely physically releasing it, noticing the little things, all great tips, Clarissa. Absolutely brilliant. I know all the Mars people out there are like, yeah, it's fun. Come on with me. But let's go. Let's get that heart rate up. Yeah, definitely. Focus where you're using your energy. Clarissa, this has been such a brilliant thing. I've got so many mental notes to keep with. I'm really excited. My fire energy is. We're going to get started with a lot of action. We're going to make sure we have strong spiritual practices. We're going to get our initiative and focus right now. Like, where do we want to be? What's that end goal? Because that's going to help us start to hone in on how we can really tap into this abundance that we're going to be stepping into. And yes, like every year, we're going to have really high intensity points where we have things leaving and coming at the same time. We work through it and vice versa. 2024 is no different. But this is definitely a take action, step into your authenticity, your purpose, something that the voice that you have within. So, yeah, so many brilliant things. Thank you so much for all of that, Carissa. I can't wait to really dive into your month as the inner circle guide because you're going to be talking about harmonics. You're going to be teaching this class. How exciting is that?
Beyond. And I can't wait to introduce it. I know Rick Levine introduced it via Astrology Hub with his classes. So I'm really interested in seeing, how everybody vibes with another harmonic astrologer's perspective. And I can't wait to see it applied to your life. So this stuff doesn't sound like, so inaccessible.
Absolutely. And the inner circle group, especially like when you get into one of the great things about the inner circle is we do have the master class, you have the new moon, the full moon, and the ceremony. But the community is something that really drew me in years ago because you could go in there and you can ask a question and you can ask a question to Clarissa, an astrologer. You're like, hey, you taught this class, or I have this question about this, and get cosmic updates based on it. But just hearing how other people see it. So yeah, I do think when your month comes, you're going to find students that are like, I know all of this. And you're gonna find students that are like, I've never even heard of this, but they're gonna be
Ooh.
coming in. Yeah, it's a great mix because everyone helps each other, they support each other. And then, yeah, I think as an astrologer, it's a completely inspiring person on both ends of it, whether you're astrologer, a student,
Mhm.
or just kind of learning. But that community, especially with this topic, I know is going to be brilliant. There's going to be like, well, look at this or look at that. So it's going to be great. And what month are you going to be our guide? I know this month in October, we have Cameron Allen coming up, and you are in month.
February, I'm from February 10th, 2024 to mid-March.
How brilliant is that? Like, that's gonna be like right as we start to escalate into some of this energy, like, well, you'll be like on the eclipse,
Yeah.
like, this is how you're gonna use this when we get to the yes. What a brilliant placement for you, Clarissa. You think like some divinity happened to make sure that you were there yes, to get the inner circle member to go on the other side. Absolutely brilliant. All right. So for all of you out there, if you are not already an inner circle member, you can join right now for a 45% off of our regular open price. Now you can do that through October 20th. All you need to do to join is go to astrologyhub.com/inner circle, and you will get to work with brilliant astrologers like Carissa each month. And we look forward to seeing you there. Thank you all for tuning in today. Thank you for making astrology a part of your life. We'll catch you on the next episode. All right.
Thanks.
Every day, people around the globe turn to astrology to find inner peace and fulfillment and navigate the tricky and complex world around them, only to be left lost and confused by resources that demand too much of their time, energy, and brain power. And while learning astrology isn't supposed to be simple, it's a whole lot easier when you can tap into the minds of the world's best astrology experts and a community of like-minded souls who are here to support you on your journey. That's where we come in. Welcome to Astrology Hub's Inner Circle, home for curious newbies, devoted enthusiasts, and anyone looking to use astrology to consciously navigate their path ahead and transform their lives. Inner Circle members get exclusive access to new astrologer guides each month, detailed live new moon and full moon forecast, a new mastery class each month, teaching a different astrological technique, monthly live chart demos and Q&A with astrologer guides, with a chance to submit your chart to be used as an example. When you sign up during this special enrollment period, you'll also get 3 bonus mastery classes. And to put the cherry on top of the cake, we're offering you the Inner Circle membership at 45% off the cost of the regular price, now through October 20th. If you sign up now, you'll lock in this special price for as long as you are a member. Go to astrologyhub.com/inner circle to learn more and join us today. I really hope that you'll join us on the inside.